as we start to get older, our work capacity starts to diminish. We can't do as much stuff as we used to be able to do. But we still try. We still have the brain of the 20-year-old. But our body sometimes can't keep up with those thoughts and intentions. So, when we try, we get massively frustrated because it doesn't have the net positive on our lives as it once previously did. And because we're men and we're stupid and we're angry, we will rather do nothing than actually just make a significant change to our frequency of training or our session volume. In this video, I want to really hammer home this point. Less but better is more, and I'm going to use an example of a client on my program who's 50-year-old and he absolutely is 100% addicted to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going to take you through his training split. I'm going to take you through his movements in the gym that he sends me, and the background of this is he came to me with 5 injuries. He had an internal rotator cuff tear. He had a sprained acromioclavicular joint. He had multiple C-spine slip discs. He had a groin tear, and he's had an MCL tear as well. So if he can lift every week and overcome most of these injuries, then you absolutely can as well. Remember, less but more is better. So I'm going to take you through his 2-day training split. Remember this, right? I think this is the most important thing I can ever say to any person. If you are injured, you need to be in the weight room more than if you are not injured. One step further than that. If you are injured, you need to be doing if you're not injured, you do your sport more than you are in the weight room. If you're injured, you do the weight room more than your sport. Like I said earlier on, he's going to be doing the movements, and I'm going to be giving you what he's doing well, like an overview, and I'm also going to give you what he's not actually doing well. I'm going to show you his movements, and some of his techniques are good, some of them aren't the greatest. So you're going to see how I coach, and you're going to take them points on board into your own training as well. So that is the plan. For those that are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Paul Green. I'm a former British paratrooper and Special Forces Support Group operator. Right? When I was in the army, I worked in the gym for many years, and it was my job to build physically dominant soldiers. So they were more resilient, more robust, so then they could continue to do their crazy job, as effectively as possible, and essentially save the British Army a fucking shitload of money because they were less injured, right? Last November, I left the army, and now I do exactly the same with typically grapplers, right? Build physically resilient, robust, dominant grapplers. And I do that on a one-on-one basis on my service. It's called the Longevity Program. The link's in the description. If you want to jump on a call with me, we'll have a conversation whether you are a good fit for the program. But you can see here multiple different injuries, joint injuries, shoulder, knee, nerve damage, frozen shoulder, shin splints, Achilles tear. You see a multitude of different injuries. And typically, I treat them with the same system. So, we're talking about this bloke here. And we're not talking about his MCL tear in particular. That's on a separate video. If you want to check that out, treat yourself. I'm just going to go onto a bigger screen here because the videos get a little bit weird. Right. So this is his training split, 2-day training split. It's upper body and lower body. Now, there is a lot of benefit to actually running full body twice. However, just while we get his ACJ under control, because this is his last injury. He had 4 injuries. He had a groin tear. We've managed to sort that out. MCL tear, we've sorted that out. He had an internal rotator cuff tear. We managed to sort that out. And C-spine, multiple slip discs. We've managed to calm down a lot of them symptoms as well. So the final thing we need to do now is really focus on this ACJ rehab. So we're running an upper body and a lower body session. And the reason I've done the upper body session is because we can get into the nitty gritty with the upper body and give him some really start challenging the ACJ, right? So 2-day split, and then the rehab is just in the background, always happening. Once the injury's fixed, the rehab will go out of the program, and then he'll probably go on to a 2-day split again, but it'll be full body 1 and then full body 2, because there is no need to be training one muscle on one day and then another muscle on another day. It's an absolutely terrible idea. We can actually get better by training the full body twice. It's unbelievable, and have a few days rest in between and focus on your sport. However, not everybody thinks like that, and this is why videos like this exist. So, iron neck exercise to start off with, because we need to progress his neck strength, because we don't want to leave him hanging and risky of getting a neck injury. Flat dumbbell chest press, lat pull down, dumbbell shoulder press, dumbbell row, and a dumbbell skull crusher. Pretty straightforward stuff. World-class athletes are doing exercises like this. World-class athletes. You don't need to do anything fancy, anything crazy. If world-class athletes are not doing the exercises in which you are doing, then you shouldn't really be doing the exercises. You notice you don't see many world-class athletes doing kettlebell swings and stuff like that. Very rarely. They're doing bread and butter lifting. All the lifting that you already know how to do. Do you know what I mean? It's not sexy. It's not exciting. It just is effective, right? I'm going to go back onto the slide now, and I'm going to talk you through his upper body session, right? So, see if I can zoom in a little bit. This is him doing chest pressing, and as you can see, he's training at home in his garage, right? And he's got a Smith machine, which is the best machine for training at home. I can absolutely guarantee you with that. One thing you can notice here is how he's pressing with a little bit of a narrow elbow position. What this allows him to do is press with his chest rather than press with his shoulders. Now, if he had a wide elbow position where his elbows are in the same line as his shoulders, a lot of the stress will be on the front of his shoulder. So I'm a massive advocate of that elbow position, not completely narrow like this, but in the middle. So he's pressing from his chest, and I tell him, make sure that you visualize pushing somebody over when it's at that bottom position, right? And he's actively controlling it all the way down. And then what I'm looking for after this is intensity. So is he really pushing the intensity? Because if he's not pushing the intensity, it's pointless. Do you know what I mean? But because of the ACJ injury, I had to, for a couple of months, I had to put him on a range of motion restriction. So we basically did the ACJ rehab, and we were avoiding end ranges that aggravated the ACJ, because this collarbone here basically gets aggravated when you're in the end ranges. It gets put on stress. So we had to just avoid like almost most upper body end ranges, like ever so slightly, so we could balance it with ACJ rehab priority and also developing the strength of all these surrounding muscles. He barely trained. He didn't lift. He didn't use this. Didn't use it much with any serious intent until he came to see me. Right, so one of the pickup points I'll give him here, and I probably said this to him in a similar sort of fashion to what I'm showing you, is he could have got a couple more reps here. Look there, that's about 80%. He's got his leg up now. A great dismount. Right, happy days. However, he could have got another 3 or 4 reps there, right? And I've probably told him that as well. Next exercise in his upper body session is a dumbbell chest supported row. So I'll zoom in on this again, just so you can get a better picture. And notice how he's not necessarily pulling it straight up, he's pulling backwards. Look at the direction of his wrist. It's diagonal. And basically, his wrist wants to go towards the hip. And that's how we get a good squeeze of the lats. He used to go straight up and straight down. Straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down. And you're not really working the lats very effectively when you do that. So this is quite good technique. Another bad habit he had is he used to always look up when he was struggling. He used to look up at the sky, and it caused that compression on his C-spine. And again, the same point I'd give him on this as well is intensity. Like, I'm massive on earning the right to train to failure. And when he's been on my program for a few months, he should absolutely be pushing closer to failure. So yes, he's squeezing, but see the speed of his rep. Your rep speed shouldn't be that fast if you are hitting 90-95% intensity. So let's go to his next exercise, which is a lat pull down. As you can see, he's got a glorious Smith machine, and the reason he's holding it like this, and you know, people are probably thinking, what the hell is he holding it like that for? So the reason I've got him holding it like this is because it doesn't aggravate the ACJ as much. So when you're in that end range and your shoulder starts to crunch inwards to the neck, this collarbone starts to get compressed. By keeping him a little bit wider and the underhand grasp doesn't give him the aggravation. So because I don't want it to get unnecessarily aggravated, we work this stuff in his ACJ rehab. I'm not going to talk about the ACJ rehab in this video. I'll be here for like 40 minutes. But just appreciate that's my rationale. Keep his shoulder open. See, he's like that. It's not like this. Do you know what I mean? I love full range of motion. However, this is part of that piece of we're basically erring on the side of caution until the ACJ is sorted. Anyway, a couple more points you can see here. Look at how he's shrugging the shoulder blades. Look at how he's arched facing up, and he's got his head and his chest and eyes facing where he's pulling from. Perfect pulling position. Really good technique. This. He's got a really good vertical pull on him. So no issues with this, but it's probably going to be a common theme. What you do one exercise, you do another exercise and another exercise, and usually it's intensity. Now, it looked like it was close to failure there, so I'll give him his props on that one. I'll let that one slide. And this is phenomenal, right? So, shoulder press. For those of you that are thinking, why have I got all of his videos, by the way, he sends me videos of him doing training, and I review his movements just like this. So, I wanted to try him. He went too heavy on this. As you can see, he went too heavy. And yeah, he's suffering, right? So this is not great, not the greatest technique, right? But bearing in mind, I've only just introduced vertical shoulder pressing into his exercise. But what I told him on this video is, I said, look at the position of everything here. You're in absolute tatters. I said, I want your elbow and your wrist in the same line. Basically, his wrist is behind his elbow here. So it's going to be a very uncomfortable pressing position. I like the fact that his elbows are in front. I like that. Your elbows can be in the side as well. That's absolutely fine. But he's in a very uncomfortable pressing position here, right? But he still tries it, and it's still pretty safe, so I'm not that bothered. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy to let him push himself and work. However, I would like him to do a better range of motion. And what I showed him here is, I said, look, I went, mate, look. I said, look at your first rep here. Look at how perfect this first rep was. There we are. And I said, now you've got yourself into a little position where you've moved your arms back and whatever else, and now you can't go all the way down. I said, your first rep was perfect. Do the first rep, 6 to 10 times. And he was like, oh yeah. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes people start the movement when you're at the bottom, not at the top. And yeah, because he started thinking when he was at the top, he's got himself into a bit of a pickle when his technique was already perfect, when he just thought about getting it up naturally. Like, look how smooth this is. Bearing in mind, he's got a C-spine, multiple slip disc. He's had an internal rotator cuff tear and an ACJ. Getting him shoulder pressing is huge, right? So let's forget about that one. Let's move on over here. And now we've got some basic skull crushers. For those grapplers that watch this channel, a massive sticking point with us, especially in the gi, is our elbows. So it's important that we're taking some time to help the strength of the elbows, triceps and forearms as well. So skull crushers are in there, and I basically say to him, I'm like, look, I want the humerus bone to be really vertical because I want the force to go through the elbow rather than through the tricep muscles. Obviously, there's going to be tricep muscles that cross the elbow, but I'm saying this because I specifically want him to put stress through the elbow to build stronger elbows, rather than build big meaty triceps over here. I want the stress to be here. And this is one thing I'm quite big on with grapplers that really do struggle with sore elbows, you know, the golfers and tennis elbow. So that is the in a nutshell, that's his upper body session, you know what I mean? And look at the fact that I've told you there, he's had 3 injuries around the shoulder region, and he's still trying to shoulder press, and he can move shoulder press perfectly. You've seen his technique on the first rep. He's just got himself into a bit of a pickle with his angles. So absolute legend, absolute legendary. I'm going to go into his lower body session now. I'm going to explain everything. Right, so just to give you the background context again, he had an MCL tear and he had a groin tear. So because he had the groin tear, I couldn't get him all the way down in squats. So previously to this lower body session, he could only do like half squats, because every time I would go further than half, it would obviously cause his groin to have a bit of a flare up. Obviously I don't want to do that, and I'm aware of that, so I didn't do it. So the fact that he's now going all the way down on most of these exercises is because his groin is sorted now. MCL, some guy chopped his leg when they were trying to sweep him on the mats. His MCL, he messaged me saying his MCL's fucked. So this exercise is in just to finish off the MCL rehab. Now I've taken this out, by the way, so a bit of a Cossack squat, moving him sideways. So let's get cracking. The general theme is, with my programming, is I want your joints to be as strong as fuck, right? I want to work your joints through a full range of motion in most cases. So the exercises in which I choose will always be the ones that prioritize the major joints working through their full range of motion, because sometimes when we get old, our mobility starts to flatline. So look at this. He's on a Smith machine here, Smith machine squat. One of the best exercises I could ever give anybody, in my opinion, for strengthening the knees. Notice how he brings his feet forward. By bringing his feet forward, he allows himself to sit into that pocket and go all the way down. Now, I'll probably tore him a new one with my feedback on this. Straight away, I'm not happy with how fast he's going. He's going up and down too fast, right? And I'll have told him this because I've got videos of him. There we are. And what happens with Keith is that he starts to build a confidence as the set goes on. I've told him this as well. So as you can see, just over 90 degrees, which is okay. However, I'm not happy with just over 90 degrees. I want him all the way down. So as you can see, he's not comfortable with the depth. He's still figuring out the depth. And then I think, he changed the foot position there, and now he's going all the way down. I want him to find the correct depth earlier in the set, and I want him to pause at the bottom as well. So he's moving too fast on that, and I'll have told him that. After that deep Smith machine back squat exercise, again, my priority of that is all the way down. Get your hamstring to your calf. Next one is Smith machine RDL. And again, I always say to the lads, chest out, arse out, chest out, arse out. And he wants to make sure that his hips come back and hips forward. Hips back, hips forward. And he keeps nice and stiff knees here. So nothing fancy, just the best exercises, because the best exercises get the best results. Pretty straightforward, that one. And just to elaborate on the point that I want to make regarding full range of motion of the knee joint, full range of motion builds strong joints. You can't get strong joints if you're only going halfway down. And if you haven't got the mobility to go all the way down, you need to put in a little aid, i.e. feet forward on a Smith machine or heels elevated. Do you know what I mean? And as you can see, the only pickup point I give him here is that I like them to bank the pause at the bottom. So I like them to get, the half a second pause at the bottom, then fire it up. And I can probably criticise his intensity as well. I like to get that, 95 to 100% intensity. No issues really on his glute bridges. They're pretty good. He's pausing at the top and he's got a good range. No issues whatsoever here. And the next exercise is the Cossack squat, which is just moving him sideways. Remember, he had an MCL injury. MCL injury on the mats. And the fact that at some point, I need to build his knee strength. And then I need to get him moving from side to side. Because the side to side stuff it's called late stage rehab. It needs to just tick it off for a few weeks, then he's sorted. His knee's sorted. So this was me thinking late stage MCL rehab. And I don't like how fast he's going here. I've told him this, but he really hates this movement. He just gets it done. And, you know, I'm willing to let that one slide. It's a bodyweight exercise. It's not really a needle mover with regards to, you know, the strength of his knees. It's just ticking a little annoying box that we need to do at the end of the MCL stuff. But now we can put that to bed. And yeah, just to summarise this, lads. 2-day split. If you're doing a sport and you're doing a lot of work in your sport, remember, strength training is basically you building your armour, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, but if you are not building your armour, you are just getting absolutely destroyed by your sport. The priority should always be your sport. That's where we build technique. That's where we build neural pathways, thought processes, ability to problem solve, ability to process information and practice that, all of that stuff. So there should be a clear gap in what we do in the weight room and what we do in our sport. There shouldn't be many similarities. You shouldn't be doing shrimping with a kettlebell. Like, what are you doing? Like, people do this though. The strength and conditioning world entered a world of specificity for 10, 20, 30 years, trying to improve micro areas of performance. The best way that you can improve your performance, both on and off the mats, is by making sure that you're just doing it, you're ticking this stuff off to a really good standard every week. And if your body's in tatters, when you do bring it into your life, then you need to reduce the volume, right? 2 sessions per week. And I'm telling him, make sure you're having 72 hours rest in between them 2 weightlifting sessions. Obviously, the priority for me coaching him is making sure he's doing them. But if he was doing full body, I wouldn't be happy if he'd done full body on a Saturday, then full body on a Sunday. Because it's upper body, then lower body, there isn't much. There's not going to be much extra fatigue. But the most important thing is that if this is not in your life, you are literally, you're going to be in tatters. There's just going to be a massive reduction in the quality of life from this point forward. You need to get it in, and get it in, start small. Like, if it's 1 session to start with, that's unreal. And then next month, add in a second session. And then from there, when you plateau your strength or whatever, you might want to add in an extra few sets. So you're still sticking to 2. And I would say as a maximum, for anybody who's busy doing their sport, 3 to 5 times a week, a maximum of 3 weightlifting sessions. Do you know what I mean? And you're doing exercises where you're trying to manage fatigue. And if the golden rule, if it has a net negative on your performance, both on and off the mat, on your sport, in your sport and out of your sport, then you need to make a change. You do not, absolutely do not, delete it. Control, Alt, delete. You keep doing it, but you just need to make a change. It might be a case of reducing. If your lower back's fucked because you've done 10 sets of deadlifts, then you probably just need to do 2 sets of deadlifts. Do you know what I mean? If you're doing seven different exercises on legs, then you probably just need to do 3 exercises on legs. Do you know what I mean? Needle movers. But yeah, that's my 50 pence. If you appreciate it, if you like the way I train others, then the link is in the description. Book on a call with me. We can have a discussion on how you can join the longevity program. But if not, I will see you on YouTube tomorrow because I post daily.